Gotta like, all right, let's rehash this again, guys.
So Caleb, why don't you tell me why both of these patches are really great, and I'll tell you why they're not.
Oh no, please.
I'm not going to back these patches up. If
Let's chill. Well, actually, I don't know. Eric seems to be unmuted for some stupid reason. I don't know why.
Have you considered that we're live?
We're not live. Surely we're not live. Like, we haven't had a technical issue yet.
Well, Eric's not muted. That sounds like a technical issue.
We have the technical issue, McLeod. It's called Caleb not being there, and Eric doubling up Caleb's stream.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a visual.
Do you like that? Do you like that? Doubled up Caleb's screen. It's like we don't. It's like this show is more Caleb than ever. It's like double the Caleb. You know,
push to Caleb.
Push to Caleb. Please, we want to see if we keep them in sync. Actually, when I set up the show, that wasn't like that, so I don't really know. I don't care.
How do I get stereo today?
You do stereo video, right? Yes, we know we're live. We're live. And by the way, Moradin, I unmute them because they never shut up when they're muted.
Every so often he asks us to sort of maybe like actually no, he doesn't.
No.
You don't do that anymore. But like previously, he used to be like, guys, could you shut up? Like we got like the intro and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it always started with a bit with silence, and then someone would like just break the silence for no reason. Like I hadn't even heard the request from Eric whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we would just start speaking anyway.
I know, we love it. It's the fun things we do, right?
Yeah.
There we go. By the way, for some reason, he's double coming in on the NDI on McLeod's stream that's normally there for the picture. And that's why he showed up twice.
It's because it wants to fill the space with something.
Yeah, you guys missed it. We had fisticuffs, we had everything going on in pre-show, and then we had so if you look at our pre-show, and we don't like to talk politics, but I'll do a little comparison, right? So first U.S. presidential debate, complete chaos, and we're like, right? Okay, that's the beginning of pre-show. And then as we came closer to 1 o'clock here, it was like the second debate. Everybody was like very calm, very nice, describing everything to everybody. And we're like, hey guys, we really need to save this for the show. So we did,
you're like, it's a great start to the show, by the way, guys. Oh, we're not live.
Yeah, we're not live at the moment.
Your comparison is kind of falling apart there a bit, Eric, because everyone was speaking in coherent sentences.
I know, and kind and polite and everything. That was kind of like the second debate. Just saying.
I promise to make sure that
it fell apart the moment he said second debate, because the second debate was canceled. That was
the second debate that aired was number 2. Even though it was the planned third.
Yeah,
it was still the second.
Definitely a big pile of number 2.
Yeah, it always is. So that's all the politics you're going to get for today out of us. By the way, Soth, I do have to share with you that before she left today, Mrs. Eric said, "Let Soth know that I'll be coming home in the middle of the show for him, just so he knows." And I'm like, "No problem. He'll love it."
What do you think about your wife thinking more about me than you when she's coming home
just on a Saturday?
Well, at my age, I kind of feel relieved. I mean,
all right,
I don't have to do anything.
I didn't know you had started posting that time.
I was like, yeah, whatever.
You can really tell she's not back yet.
No, there is never anything that I say about Mrs. Eric that I wouldn't say in front of her. And by the way, she doesn't watch the show, so she doesn't have a clue what we say about her. But yeah, no, she's a very
She's fun.
you know her, Don, right? Yeah, she's fun. She
we
just,
should
she just
be
rolls
in
with
Vegas
it.
right now.
We should
getting
be
drunk on margaritas in the flamingo pool again.
That's right.
With a really hot waitress and appetizers everywhere.
Well, it was that was the day of what did we go through? 5 bottles of vodka or something, 6 or something. I forget what the hell they were.
We did 3 bottles of Grey Goose, a pitcher of margaritas, and I don't know if you guys got beers or not. But
we did more than 3 bottles
going.
of Grey Goose. We did more than 3
Probably.
bottles. I think it was 5. I think it was 5. But yeah, it's like, our little hostess came back. Hey, you want another bottle of Grey Goose? We looked, and there's like just a little bit left. We're like, she goes, same price as the first one. We're like, yeah, bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah. I too enjoy paying $300 for a $70 bottle of vodka.
I think we got it half price. It was only $150.
No, 300 was the half.
Oh, was that the half price? I don't know. I just gave the credit card over and said whatever, divide it 3 ways or whatever the hell we did, right?
That's why I got the margaritas because only $50 for a pitcher.
Only $50 for a pitcher of margaritas.
Dear God.
I remember when I was in college, we'd go down to like this little margarita joint, and you'd actually, you get a pitcher of margaritas for like $10, and you get the little gummy worms too in a glass. So they would give you those.
At $300, you're not paying just for the vodka. You're paying for the vodka and the experience and the.
No, you have to put
the
down
location that you're at
for the bungalow as well, which was like $500 or something.
I just want to point out that I spent less than $300 on an entire Amsterdam trip. So there's that.
I would like to point out that if the vodka's doing its job, you're not paying for any experience.
That's true.
For a while there were only 3 of us in the bungalow for like the first bottle. So Eric, newbie, no, 4 of us. So Eric, newbie,
the morgue.
Yeah, and we're sitting there. We got a bottle of Grey Goose and 4 like chasers, and we're like, I guess we'll just keep drinking this. It was like 11.
I will say, Mrs. Eric. I sent Mrs. Eric to go negotiate for the bungalow, and she did get it at half price.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. You send the girl to negotiate, right? She's like, I'll go do it.
They let me in without checking anything in my bag.
That's awesome. See, you girls get everything. They went.
I just said I'm with them. They're like, okay, go ahead, whatever.
I'm with the crazy people in the corner. All right. And those weird people in the pool. How about that, Don? There was some weird stuff going on in that pool.
I don't really like that because I was like one of the 2 people that got in the pool.
No. I meant over from us, like 20 yards.
All I remember is the pool prompted Zenuria to get down to his boxers and jump in, and I did not prepare myself.
Did you really invoke Zenuria in his boxers?
You were there. I mean, you might have been sloshed, but Zenuria got in the pool twice. He did not have a swimsuit, so he just took off his pants and jumped in.
I am mentally scarred at just the idea of that.
Yeah, well, you should have been there. You would have been even more scarred.
I mean, Zenuria's not a bad-looking dude, so at least it wasn't like an amorphous blob falling into the pool.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
But still, just like, oh my gosh, what's happening right now? So yes, that was our
there were some Canadians in the pool. They were like, oh, this is warm. We're like, this is like freezing. What are you talking about?
I'm surprised it didn't have some like specialist, like $1,500 fucking, like, purpose-made fucking pool shoe that he had on or something.
A pool
I'm sorry,
I wouldn't doubt it.
I have pool shoes.
Why would he have pool shoes like that?
Why wouldn't?
I mean, I think they cost $5.
He loves his showy footwear.
Oh, by the way, I have to share.
Yes,
It's my.
he does, doesn't he?
It is my 57-month anniversary.
Oh, okay.
You realise how long that is, Eric?
57 months.
57 months. 3 more months, and it's like it's what it
years.
5 years of subs to this thing. See, Carneros, he's ahead of me, man. So Carneros is about to pay off his Imperium News car on his 60-month plan that we have for all of us.
Well, I mean, he even has the prestigious founder title as well.
Yeah, he probably does. Yeah, let's see. First, there it is, founder, 72-month subscriber. There you go.
Nice.
Give him a little woot there.
God
Look at that.
damn.
See, I just have the 4.5 year badge. Wow, that's actually a badge. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Well,
yeah, Carneros.
We
need to hang out with Carneros again. He was fun.
I mean, the show is open for people to come on if they want.
Of course. Oh yeah, I'm sure he probably has access. Who cares? Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
we ready
we
to dive
yeah.
into
You
this
know what,
pile?
Don? This
I don't know. There's people who are like, wait, Push to Talk actually has a Discord? Like, what?
Yeah.
There's people who don't even realize this.
I didn't until I want to say it was Caleb or you invited me in like nearly 2 years ago now.
Wow, that's like a long time, man.
I didn't until you got me so mad that I had to come on the show and yell at y'all.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That's called fishing for Soth.
Yeah, and now you guys understand our recruitment scheme.
How did we get Dirk and Arendis on this
We
show?
will find the angle to get you engaged.
Oh, no, I started showing up to tell Sauce to shut up.
Oh, there you go.
It's because they're broskies.
The machine that
Perfect
feeds
little
itself.
circle.
It's almost like
Perfect
one of
little
those.
circle.
Yeah, it's one of those Ouroboros thingies. It's almost like the snake people.
Oh, you know what? Somehow my mic
Hey,
is
now.
turned way
Don't
up.
go getting
I'll turn it
insulted.
down. I turned my mic down halfway. So sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm just in an unusually
It was nicer that way.
fun mood. I'm like happy mood today. I don't know why. Probably because I'm hanging out with all of you guys and not with a bunch of crazy people.
And we didn't really have tech
We haven't
issues
started.
before the
We haven't
Well,
started
trust me.
on all the topics, all the potential topics. Let's put it that way. Let's carry on as we are.
Hold it.
Yeah,
I gotta share.
I like this.
I gotta. Hold on. What's going on here?
Are we going to go in chronological order of the bullshit this week?
I don't know.
Should we just
Because it's-
pretend it didn't happen and talk
There's-
something sensible?
Well, we could talk about
Okay.
Wubbles again. It took us an hour to get through that because we kept
Well,
getting distracted.
Worsts. Actually, no.
No, they're
No.
Wubbles.
Me and Nebra agreed this. It's neither of them.
I enjoyed going I enjoyed making a really casual fit and going 20,000 fucking meters a second in a scepter.
Yes, that was obscene.
Like casual fit, like the most casual fit. Like you're not even trying, not even like, oh, I need to put snakes in, or oh, I need to get maximum fucking maximum boosts and that kind of stuff. Or find the situation with the best kind of bonuses from wormholes or anything like that. No, casual fit 20k.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the fact that the snake people are actually sweatshopping their propaganda.
Did you
Oh,
notice
yeah.
I
Doing all
used
this fine.
snake in the beginning again?
Sorry.
Like
They
at this
paid
particular
some
point,
guy.
it's-
Heard
at
this
this
story.
particular point,
Can
it's
someone
standard
explain it to me?
operating procedure.
It's a little bit pathetic when you don't even have people that can do your own propaganda, so you use things like Fiverr and stuff like that. It's like, seriously?
Fiverr propaganda.
Wow.
Can you get the people who
Hold on.
don't look at Reddit
Please
up
explain.
to speed?
Basically,
you know-
Keyhorde
well,
paid
you
somebody.
You know what Fiverr is, Bart, don't you?
Yes, yeah. the
Okay,
you
so
know,
basically,
pay a favor and
people,
get something for it.
you pay a small amount of money and people will, basically do almost anything for you, right?
Business-wise, it
So
makes sense.
that's exactly what they're
Some of
doing.
that RMG
So
money
it's
back into
basically
the propaganda.
everything in life.
So
Like they felt like they weren't getting enough, enough kind of velocity in their propaganda, so they threw money at it into by using.
So they outsourced it.
Yeah.
Outsourcing. Love it.
I am facepalming here because this is almost as bad as PC Gamer writing articles about Eve, right?
They bought
People with no fucking idea or context of the game writing stuff about it.
They bought a very cheap version of Fountain Frank, like the complete
fair-
discount version.
To be fair,
The
this
off-brand
to
version?
be fair, and this wasn't really like in a time of war or anything like this, but like I know that in it have kind of done something similar.
Hold on. Everybody, say
Just
hi,
for
hi,
the lols.
Soth. Say hi, Soth. Louder.
Hi, Saw.
See, they're all back. Your fans are back,
you
Soth. Sorry for interrupting, but they just walked through the door. And by the way, they intentionally didn't use the door that squeaked just for Sothrasil today. So
I just want to say though, McLeod, you said that in it have done the same before, right?
Yeah, we've done a do you know the way kind of like fucking like meme using Fiverr, and we've also done a random video promoting people to get into Apostles.
Yes, but to my understanding, that was done using people who typically are known for the meme videos, right?
Yes.
I can't think his name, but you know the guy that does.
I know the dude. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, the guy with the screen that does the shout out that you want, that has become a living meme, right? Yeah. That's quality, but outsourcing somebody to draw your propaganda that's not a running meme person, not quite as good. Let's be real.
Exactly. I'll see if I can find some of those videos, by the way, and I'll link it in Twitch chat, so long as the bot doesn't fucking nuke me or something. It probably will nuke me in actual fact, so I'm gonna probably have to ask one of you to permit me at some point. But I need to find them first. Anyway, on with the show. That's your cue.
Being very low, and it just bothers me that they can't come up with some better propaganda.
So I assume the giant elephant in the room is the bombshells of the bounty system, the ESS changes that were found, and the Bat out of Hell. Which, we didn't talk about Bat out of Hell yet.
I like them all.
I hate you.
Yeah.
No. But we already established that you like the idea.
Yes, okay, so I was trolling with the I like them all, but okay, yes, so you're closer. If CCP do it right, cough cough they won't, it could be a good functional working idea. I've already made my statement clear on if I think they're going to do it right. So.
Okay, so let me just ask a couple of questions here about each of the proposed updates. The two of them, not the ESS thing, because that's still far enough ahead that they can change anything they want and just go, yeah, well, this is what you get for reading Hobo Leagues.
When you say far enough ahead, you mean announcing next week?
Yeah, they haven't.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't actually officially announced it. They can change any values they want, and nobody can say, "Oh, but you said." So yeah, don't even think about it.
The nice thing is that they're getting all the reaction to people thinking that these are going to be the set numbers, so they'll be able to say "Oh, I think we may have overdone it here," or
So about VAT out of Hell, all right. In what world do you see massive subcapital fleets being used in large supercapital engagements?
That's what I'm saying.
very little.
It's rare.
The use
Okay.
case I could have seen.
Wait, hang on. Okay, so that's not going to be in massive super capital engagements. In what kind of world are you going to drop a super capital offensively where it cannot tether just so you can reship your subcaps?
Hold on, how do we know it cannot tether?
Well, it either can tether or
Because,
it can't tether.
because if it's someplace where it can tether, you already had someplace where your subcaps can reship.
Yes. My
But
thought
can you
was
clone off of a drug there? I think not.
No, you can set your medical clone there.
Only if you put a clone bay in.
Here's the thing, though.
that does kind of screw you over the like the first couple of the first few deaths kind of thing.
This would have been useful, say, for reshipping Raven when we were attacking Keepstars.
No, why?
Why? So we had one on a fort?
People just warped to a Fortizar, got killed, and woke up in 1DQ again. Shipped into
No,
a
it-
new
it
ship,
yes.
and got British
You're
again.
would
skipping the point of going back
not
to
have
1DQ.
been particularly useful, and here's why. Okay, when do you take your drug?
You have to take it
Or
before
as-
you die.
as you're fighting, as you start fighting. Typically.
So you have to take the drug before you die. You have to hope the consume command goes through in that heavy tie-dye.
Mhm.
And oh wait, they didn't actually kill me. Shit, my drug expired because the drugs aren't subject to tie-dye.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
long do these last, though, do we know?
In a 16-hour fight, does it matter?
Not,
Well,
not
I'm
a-
just saying,
not
if
long
it's
enough.
a 24-hour thing,
It's
then
not a
it's fine.
24-hour. We have no
It's
24-hour drugs in Eve.
Cerebral accelerator.
Bjorn is
I think
saying,
there's been
well,
some experimental drugs, but it hasn't been any combat-related drugs in any way, shape, or form. Like,
Can I
As far
address
as I
the
know.
elephant in the room? Because I was
There's an
very
elephant in the
excited.
room.
I was extremely
Well,
excited
also-
because I thought this was going to be tactic clones where you could actually use them for something useful, like getting to a fight without having to go through all the motions,
That's
and you
what
could actually...
Titan clone bays are for.
Yeah,
always
but
were.
it would be a huge upgrade if you could have these cheaper than Titan things to actually do taxiing around, right?
You can. Oracles can have them.
Yeah.
You just can't have an actually useful ship on it, but an Oracle can hold that bay in all the high slots, and you can take, like 8 to 10 of you anywhere.
I mean, there is one good thing about this for super pilots.
The ship's bigger!
The ship's bigger, yeah.
Hey!
Your ship maintenance
And
bay is
that's
bigger, so
still-
you're better for suit casing.
It's great for evac.
I'm still going to need 2 or 3.
So the use case for this is going to be defensively, because that way your supers can sit there tethered.
yeah, it's probably going to be, at least in our case, something, say, we're on a Keepstar, we're losing subcaps. Oh, wait, you died in system, that's fine. You just hop into another subcap in that bay on the Keepstar and keep shooting. Right.
Sure, but keep in mind, this is going to mean having lots and lots of these subcaps pre-staged in the supers,
Yes.
and then giving them out for free.
Yes.
So
Which, I mean, I don't know.
In
I
a way
guess
that you
could
can't
see
control.
that if we technically went no
right,
SRP,
and that's the other
whatever.
thing. In a way, you can't control.
Mhm.
I
It's
get,
not.
can you limit who gets it? Is there a record of, oh, hey, this person took this ship and then they just disappeared with it?
Oh no, Dawn, it's not this person took this ship and then they disappeared with it. It's
Took every ship.
this person took this ship, then warped right into that smart bombing group and came and did it again and again and again and again and again.
Yes. I mean, that's.
One spy could clear out the entire
Yeah.
cache inside that ship if they wanted to, if there's no security on this at all.
So
Mhm.
I see the use cases for this being really marginal.
Like the only use case that I can see from it is, small scale, smaller scale kind of groups.
Who have a super?
groups-
Mimosa, yes, that
group-
appears to be
smaller
that appears
scale
to be it
groups.
from what they've said so far.
groups that run things like fleets, smaller scale fleets that aren't like full of battleships, and potentially groups that fund their SRP by giving people, like literally handing out people doctrine ships, because you don't know which ship is your. You could have like your ship. If you bought a ship and you've stowed it in a particular super in order for you to die on field and reship into your ship that you bought, that you put into that super, there's no guarantee that ship will be there when you respawn, because someone else might have taken it by accident.
That's assuming you get to choose which ship you pull out.
Yeah, exactly. That's assuming you can choose.
I mean,
so it's much more beneficial for it's much more beneficial for player organizations that fund that use their SRP in terms of just handing out doctrine ships, rather than handing out SRP ISK for people to buy doctrine ships off contracts.
Right.
So it only really serves like at best 50% of the player groups in New Eden, if not a lot less. Like,
I think it's a cool idea. I just don't see it really.
Retro brought up a good point. Sabers.
Yeah,
sure.
Having
exactly.
an insane amount of sabers and tackle.
Sabers are probably one of the really, really niche uses that this is going to see massive amounts of. But in general, this is just not a game changer.
I would say having a saber cache. Actually, the frigate escape bay thing. So one of the fights we had in the YZ9 fight, actually, all the nightmares, I think, it was the nightmares. All the nightmares had Logi frigates inside. So as we were killing them, their Logi wing got bigger and bigger and bigger. It started becoming kind of ridiculous.
Hold on, frigates don't really do much to battleship HP.
Yeah, but it meant we couldn't kill the ECM bursting Jaguars that kept fucking us over. So
yeah, especially if you've got X number of Logi frigates, and then everybody else winds up reshipping in their escape bay to assault frigates, and then poof, congratulations.
Sorry, I got one quick question. Can you fit capitals in an SMB?
No.
Too big. Subcaps.
Well, even 5 million, no.
Jeez,
size is the problem.
That's fine. Sorry, sir.
You got to keep in mind, a battleship is already 500,000 M3.
Yes, yeah. Oh no, I'm just there like with 5 million. I wasn't sure. It was more
10 battleships in a
20. No, 10. God damn it! I can't.
What I'm hearing is dread fleets used to reship out of a super carrier into a new dread.
That'd be amazing.
Yes, that is what I was thinking, Mike. I was going to say, if you could put a dread inside the super, you lose your dread bomb, and the dread bomb just pops back out of the supers.
No, because then that's you drop some supers, a dread bomb drops on it, and then you just clone a bunch of people to the supers that just pop out a dread bomb in itself.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
If you compare the sizes of ships, if you compare a Macarial to a carrier, that carrier isn't really much bigger than the Macarial, right? So logically it should work, but CCP is doing some weird math on how big carriers are.
Let's keep in mind the carrier may not be much larger than the Macarial or a Barghest, all right, but that Macarial or Barghest is like 20 times the size of any other battleship in the game.
Yes.
Not exactly false, but
and yet it's the exact same volume.
I literally just solved it. Macarials are origami battleships. They unfold.
I believe that more easily of the Barghest.
True.
Yes.
Or mainly any Minmatar battleship, because essentially all you need to do is it's a flak pack anyway. You
remove some duct tape.
You just apply duct tape in particular crucial areas.
Eric, I think your Discord is making noises on stream.
My Discord is making noises?
Is it beeping?
Yeah, it's probably you got notification like sounds on.
There might have been one notification.
New message sounds on.
So it sounds like for this change to the VAT bay, the only thing is going to be Hector's, probably Hector's, Dictors, and tackle that you lose quickly in a fight that you need to get back on field immediately.
Or maybe assault frigates.
Yeah,
I can see some possible niche. I don't want to say meme doctrine, but you know what I mean, right? Something that we specially think up for a fight. Like, I was there the other day jokingly turning around with someone going, oh, if you got a fleet of 250 Nagas, we could pop them out. 300 km Nagas are just volley dreads, one by one.
So yeah,
which is obscenely dumb, but it would be, in that case, a nice way to quickly reship them.
Basically, the only people who are going to use this are people who come up with ridiculous, insane, stupid freaking ideas and then bowl them through with absolutely no regard for whether or not they're at all feasible, and then somehow make them.
So Asher,
expect Asher
hack in a box. That's what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm hearing hack in a box.
No, you're hearing Asher.
It's just that.
Yeah, Asher will probably find a way to make this work.
That's sad when you have the game design and only one person in the game can use it. Maybe two.
I'm sure there are other insane people out there who will come up with interesting ways to use
it. Elo would do something with it. He's crazy enough.
Like Elo and Sadao. Like, I feel like Sadao will find some weird use for his group.
Yep. So that's bad at a hell. As for the bounty changes,
thanks, I hate it.
I don't see it doing much.
I see it effectively reducing, like, the amount of ISK that people generally get out of the system.
Yeah.
Over the same period of time.
I don't see
comparatively to now. I don't think that it, like, as a concept inside of the universe of New Eden, I think it's actually a concept that should be in logically. It's just all the other stuff that's been added on top of the previous system that we have was all based around that preset concept, right? And now we're changing that fundamental basis. So everything built on top of that doesn't really function well with this new thing. So you kind of need to refactor all of that as well. And CCP just isn't, or hasn't, or is taking its time doing that. And in the meantime, we all get dicked on.
Right. Well, I think there's two major parts of that. First off, yes, the whole idea of bounties should the amount of bounties you can get out of a system should react to how players use the system is definitely something that should be in. I think Caleb had the better idea on how to do that than this, but I definitely think it should be in there. I don't think that this implementation really makes a whole lot of sense in terms of CCP's setting, because what it says is when nothing is going on, when there's no capsular activity in the system, the massive pirate syndicates will not expand into their operations in that system. They'll settle into equilibrium and stay that way, and they won't expand. They'll only expand their operations in the system if there's a whole lot of people active in the system who could kill them.
Okay, we're not going to try to justify the law.
I don't know about you, but moving my criminal activities into the middle of a war zone is not what I do. I come in after everybody's blown themselves up. But so that's that angle. But as far as the actual what this is going to do, this is just going to reduce incomes. It's not going to promote people moving around, because, and this is something I think you were getting at with the everything else on top of it, ADMs. You have to keep your ADMs up. You cannot sit there and go, oh, well, we'll just ignore this system and let its ADMs wither because we want to make more money in it. Because someone's going to take the system away from you. And then your iHub blew up and you don't have any upgrades in it. So you can't make any goddamn money there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think there's a few points to what Arentis is saying. I think I would tend to agree that this is not going to do a lot, but it might actually nudge a little bit at the destruction numbers, because there is a part of the value that goes into this ESS that can create some sort of drama and conflict around it. How much, I don't know exactly, but there's a more important aspect of this that I like. This is something that can be something that is sensitive to things like ADMs and other variables in a way that is very potentially interesting in the future, right? And then, of course, I still want sovereignty taxation on something like this, and I want that on all fucking structures. I think it's annoying that CCP has not gotten around to fixing that, because that should be the driving thing for sovereignty, that you cannot have any transactions, money making, or any money movement at all without the sovereignty holder getting his cut.
You are very loud, Eric.
I know.
so one thing that I've seen on Reddit is a lot of people misunderstanding how ADMs work. Because they're just like, oh, well, you know, you could just rat for a while and then move to another system. Do you know how fast ADMs degrade? It's not like it
ADMs will
takes...
degrade faster than this probably recovers.
Yeah, it's not like
Oh, totally.
the ADMs like take 2 weeks to degrade. Like, if you don't rat or like unless you get into the 6, it can only take like 2 or 3 days to get you down to like 3 or 4. And then you don't have the good site spawning, so now you have to get those good sites to spawn again so you can get some nice bounties. Guess what? Rat a shit ton. And it's not about the value of the rat you kill, it's about how many you kill. Which I'm assuming this dynamic bounty thing will also do that, where it's based on how many things you murder, not the value of what you murder. So therefore, it's a counterintuitive idea.
Right, and let's
talk
about
value.
the obvious.
It won't be the numerical numbers. It will be the value. Otherwise, it's going to be so gameable and dumb.
Oh, it's going to be gameable. Let's face it, Caleb. Like, let's look at how do you get this stuff to come back up. You could either just not do anything for a while, or there could be PvP activity in the system. So
PvP.
How do you measure PvP activity? Is it the number of player ships blowing up? Because hey, Corvette Armageddon at the sun, right? Or is it the value, which means basically we're going to take our ratting system and say this is where you insurance for all your dreads before the insurance expires.
If it's just number of ship deaths, you can literally just just fill a freighter full of corvettes, eject them all into space, and
I'm sure rookie ships won't count. Like, I don't think they're that dumb.
Like, yeah, I know, but like, you know.
Did you really just say that?
I said that dumb.
Yeah,
I'm just checking, you know.
There is that for sure. But the other thing is, they put it on the actual dev block. They put it on, like, they put the conditions as to when it increases and decreases on the dev block. Like
no numbers.
Why?
They have avoided numbers.
Why? Well, yeah.
No actual physical.
True.
Numbers, yeah.
But still, you're literally, giving part of the equation to the players, like, straight off the bat. Like, why? Why do you even need to do that?
Because we'll figure it out anyway.
So the other thing
but we've now got a head start.
Well, I brought it up earlier, but I'll bring it up for stream. So the devlog sounds like they're trying to encourage, like, hey, if there's a high ratting area, people are going to go there to blow these people up, and therefore more PvP is going to happen in those high ratting areas. But that's not the case. Like,
Dawn, is this where I make my point?
We'll get there. But like, if you look at the numbers, STAC 6 in Delve is the highest ratted system in EVE 3 years in a row up until all these bullshit super changes, right? And yet the highest destruction in EVE, besides JITA, was 1DQ, where there's zero ratting happening. So the idea that people are going to go to the place with the highest ratting stuff to kill things in a significant number is just false and will not work. So the idea of what they're trying to go for isn't going to happen.
And here's where the part that we had the discussion pre-show comes in, right? I get their go there and have a fight, and it being publicly visible knowledge so that that can be done. However, as Soph and Dawn pointed out pre-show, we already have that. It's called NPCs killed per hour on Dotlan. But hey, we might not have Dotlan for much actively pissing off third-party devs to the point where they want to put their projects down.
Well, I don't think they're actively pissing. They're not actively pissing like.
They're just. Are you saying
like
they're
third-party devs? They're just
pissing
not giving them like anything that they need in order to build like services
What's
and tools
needed
for people who want up-to-date services and tools. Like there's this big thing that happened in HiSec like recently, and like a lot of people would like to kind of know how to not just interact with it, but like would like the services that they've used for years to kind of be able to react to it, and currently they can't because they don't have the data, or they don't have the the information from CCP on how to sort of cut through all of the data that they get given to be able to create and like edit all the tools to help the players. Like it's one of those things where it's like if they're not actively doing it, it's just that they're not like engaging with them at all.
Okay, yes, fine. That's probably.
But even so, it's still an issue. It's still something that like
when I say
don't leave your fucking just don't leave your third-party developers in the dark about this stuff.
And let's not ignore what the data that Dawn mentioned points us to as far as conflict in Eve. The two highest systems, the two systems with the most destruction year over year have been Cheetah and 1DQ. These are not fights happening. These are ganks. So anybody who keeps pushing we just want fights, the numbers blatantly say, no, most people in Eve just want to shoot somebody who's not going to be able to shoot back. And that's totally normal. It's human nature. You don't really want to try. You want to win.
And why am I absolutely not shocked?
No shock there. None.
I'm not saying hi to Alan Retro.
We're not saying that is the only the only behavior in Eve. It is the predominant one, though.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you guys are so much more talkative, like in the pre-show.
Well, I'm just wondering because like
the pre-show is better than
I just want to know like where they're going with all these changes, because everything for the past 4 or 5 years have been about build your own group, make your space, work to keep it safe, do your thing.
I'm with Merlin there.
It's a 180. So
now it's absolutely a 180 of like moons suck. No one wants them. No one's gonna fight over them. Like
previously, it was a case of they had this idea of. Previously they had this idea of like separate resources in separate areas kind of thing, and that worked fairly well. The only issue was there was a lot of player kind of sentiment saying like we would love to be able to like there's a reason why jitter is jitter, and if CCP, if you want to have like other markets other than jitter, then you need to allow players to have a bit of independence from jitter, right? And so the idea of, being able to be like completely independent and have an independent nullsec from HiSec was kind of, I guess, kind of worked on by CCP to the point where we had like this period where, you could basically sit in your nullsec area and build and build and build and build and build. It was great for people who were in that situation who could prosper from that environment. Fantastic, yeah. But was it healthy for the game as a whole? No. It was kind of broken. And, I was a person who did prosper from that, and I fully admit that was broken. but transitioning the way that they are back to what it was previously, they're doing a fucking piss poor job of it.
So
Because they're not understanding the
because
system.
They're not communicating it. The main thing is that they're not communicating what they're doing. It's not necessarily that they're
we
not
know
doing.
what the system is.
Well, it's not
We
that
know
they're
what
not
they're trying to
necessarily-
do.
Yeah,
Hold on.
But the point
Can
is,
I
that
jump in here, Caleb? It's not
I
just
haven't
that they're
said
not
anything
communicating
at all
it.
today. Can I just
Hang on,
have
hang on.
this
Let Caleb
one
actually
2
finish his
minutes,
thought.
right? Because I
Hang
do
on.
not agree with the way the CCP has rolled out these changes. I don't even completely agree that all of them are good, but the intention and the mechanics that they have rolled out and that they have pretty much put on the table are going to do some of what they are promising, right? They are going to roll us back to something similar to the age before everything went wrong. Is it fun? No. Will it be fun? I honestly think it will. I think it will be massively better than the last 5 years we've had. And sure, you can say, well, I can't go out and shoot people in ships and stuff like that. Well, that's not entirely true. You can't necessarily shoot people and die again and again and again in things that are rare, but you can do it in things that are not. So let's not kid ourselves. We can get back to a point where Macarials is not a fucking doctrine ship, because that is just cancer to the game. Like
I just want to point out, Caleb, that Macarials were a doctrine ship 4 to 5 years ago, and you want to go back to that time.
I miss
Well, I think he
Macarial
wants to go
Fleet.
back to like 9-10 years time.
I love the
Even
Mac
so,
fleet, and it's a great
the fact
video.
that the Macarial is a doctrine ship is not a symptom of the abundance of minerals. It's the fact that like you had, large player groups sitting in the area where you get that BPC, just funneling those BPCs out of that space constantly.
And still are.
And still will.
Macarial supplies have not moved.
But if we could like have a
Yeah,
nightmare fleet, let's take over some Sanchi space, because that'd be really nice for me.
I hear Provi's open.
I hear that's really nice now. Let's get direct access to high sec and low sec nearby. We should do that.
Now for you FCs out there and like obviously in here and people who flew fleets a lot, 5-10 years ago kind of thing, do you want to go back to the point where it was basically just rail goose and logi wings?
I love rail goose.
Your logi wing destroyed, you basically pieced out.
The thing is,
I love rail goose.
Wait. I think I'm actually the only FC here who has FC'd at that time. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to ask one question about that question first. So, other than the fact that it's hacks and not railgoos, are you saying we're not there right now?
I mean, I was about to say, all I want is a change from fucking
We're semi there,
mooning
but we do. We're semi there, but we do dread bombs every so often. And back in that time, we just didn't.
Even
No,
now,
it's worse
even now,
than
the
back then.
fleet fights are basically, okay, so you show up, you lose your logi, you leave. That's it.
Only if you're a baby.
No, but Don, I mean, people, the main DPS ships are so much tankier than the support ships that two fleets show up, they shoot one another's logi, somebody leaves.
It's because they ruined T2 resist when they've made all the resist changes. The Zarmaz.
It's because the ADF. It's because the ADC just means okay. There's no.
Well, yeah, the ADC is like really good for sure.
I mean, to be fair, we were. I was flying with Shines the other day. We were flying Ishtars, and we were just basically we were just shooting Munins, and they were tanking, and then Shines were just just wait till the ADC turns off, and then we just waited, and then it turned off, and it just fucking wrecked it out. So, to some degree, yes, I can feel that, because when they have the ADC on, there's no way of being able to basically have even an Ishtar fleet that's spec'd entirely for damage. It still doesn't get through the ADC until the ADC turns off.
You've got to have the staying power to be able to sit there and shoot at them long enough for the ADC to turn off each time.
Yeah.
they're just blowing away your support wing so you can't catch any reps, you don't have it.
So
Like-
the amount of time that it takes to down a ship with an ADC versus just any other like thing that isn't a hack, like yeah.
To answer
Every time CCP says we want bloodier fights, I have to look at them and go, then make us actually fight the most common ship in the other goddamn fleet instead of shooting everything else in the fleet.
Claymores, Logi. Like Renus, you and I talked about it. When they changed the resistance changes on all of the ships, the Zarmaz got hit the worst. It went from 120,000 average EHP to 80,000. And it went from being like almost unkillable. I mean, it was a little close to broke, to now it's just a billionist to just die on the table. Every fucking time.
Brisker's like kind of going all delete Logi sort of thing.
No,
like,
never, Brisk.
The thing is,
never.
I think Logi is kind of in an okay place with the sort of like with the the stacking penalties, that kind of thing. Like maybe you could be a little bit heavier on the second penalties of sub cap kind of Logi kind of thing. But like let's be clear here. There's a reason why the ADC came in. It was because nobody was using hacks because they were using T3s, and then the ADC came in. The same kind of reasons why people weren't really using assault frigs, because you were using T3Ds, right? Or T3, T3Ds. Like people were using T3s over hacks because it just made sense. Like you got more mileage out of them than a hack ever would. So CCP came up with ADCs as a way to differentiate between the two. Now it's just a case of we use hacks way more than T3s, partly because it's it's more efficient, and secondly because they changed T3s afterwards as well. I think wasn't it? It was it was the change to T3s was after the ADC, right?
They beat the Proteus into the ground with a stick.
Yeah. So now it's like it's a case of like, well, surely you can go roll back with the ADCs or tune them down quite a lot because you've changed that fundamental issue that you had in balance previously.
I just want to take this moment to kind of upset Dawn and apparently Fluffy Leopard. Logi is broken.
That's me.
Game.
Fluffy.
I will never not love Logi. Our Logi wing was so pro on Thursday night.
And I love our freaking Logi guys, but right now Logi is completely broken, and if they can't fix it, it needs to be pulled out of the game because this is goddamn broken. And no matter what.
What do you mean broken? They die like paper. Just pew pew.
You know the funny thing is, it's not whether Logis can die or not.
Nothing else will until the Logi dies. And honestly, that's just ridiculous. You shouldn't basically have this one type of ship that is effectively ablative armor for everything else and the Space Priest. Every other MMO
Space Priest.
Horrendous. I have the fix. Right? Because you're talking about the fact that, like, once Logi Reps goes onto something, it's like sustained indefinitely, pretty much. Like until unless you have something that could just alpha straight through, right? Yeah. So why don't you just get rid of all of the regular, remote repair, remote armor repair, remote shield repair, modules, aside from the ancillary ones that requires charges. Well, it doesn't, but if you run it without charges, it's like hella ridiculous on your cap. Like
really
insane.
It already is, and we use the ancils without charges
on some caps.
Yes,
on the Bazzies, they do have one.
Crap chain.
But because we have a cap chain,
but what I'm saying is, yeah, do you use a full rack of them though?
No.
You can't.
No, you use
you
one.
Can only fit one.
You can't. The power grid
exactly.
CPU doesn't allow it.
And so the amount of reps that you can.
I'm pretty sure that
they could if you
a full rack. The Basilisk cap chain would eat it with no problem.
Yeah. Since Render is about
to leave,
right. Can I answer that fucking question?
But But you're getting closer to a situation where Logi Reps isn't like constant, and that it has a situation where it will turn off at some point.
We still have a render. Could we get him to comment on the new probes?
Oh, wobbles.
With the wobbles.
Haha, wobbles. I'd still win.
Yeah, we're still working out exactly what they should be called, but right now wobbles is the most memorable and easiest. There's also webbles, but I really think that in the heat of the moment, webbles might get heard as webbers, and so you'll have, instead of the webbles going out, you'll have like Hugans trying to catch everybody. So wobbles, at least you can. There's no plosive at the beginning, so it doesn't sound like bubbles. There's a very very notable difference. But we're still.
I'm sorry.
The thread is still workshopping the name. We're trying to come up with something really really ridiculous but memorable.
Horrendous. Me and Reeve got it the other day.
Apart from the naming,
I just like you can
about them, because you were talking about the whole Trinity and how things work in other games. Don't you like the fact that we have something like this now?
It's not bad, but I mean, the problem that you wind up with is if you have the interdictor as basically the jack of all trades crowd control, what happens to the electronic attack frigate? Like, why should I bring a hyena or a Hugan, for that matter, if I can just have dictors run around dropping wobbles and cloaking?
Imagine we
it's
get
a 3-second delay, and it doesn't affect people if you aren't there when it goes off. So
it's a burst, not a.
Yeah, it's not an actual bubble that sits there and holds people down while it's up.
I have this insane idea.
Me, Reaver, and Soph have the name for this. Soph put it in chat a minute ago. Would he like to drop it?
Wombles.
Okay.
Yeah, Wombles.
No,
Wombles.
Why do I feel like it's Spaceballs and that guy's marrying the two of them?
I prefer Wobble. Because you can include it. I prefer Wobble because you can include it into Rick and Morty kind of meme.
Yes. And Wombles.
That's how I feel.
Wombles was brought up in the original thread, but it doesn't.
It's a worst. That's what Obsidian says.
Yes, worst.
It's a worst. Very German.
But then I have to ask you to actually pronounce it correctly. It's Wurst.
No, you can pronounce it correctly. After all, you're Dutch.
Oh, fuck you.
Oh, this is the best show.
I will never not promote Logi because it is the most fun in a fleet when you're like barely holding somebody and you're like, yeah, fuck you guys, you can't kill my buddy, and then you see somebody who doesn't broadcast on time and they just die. You're like, well,
I didn't absolutely love doing this base boosting job. I would not still be doing it. I would not have built reps for him. I would not have invested. I have no idea how many goddamn man hours into this job, but it's broken. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed in ways that make sure that even with reps going, people die.
But then what's the point of the reps? To hold them for an extra half a second? That's not even enough time to cycle a gun.
To let them live longer so that they can do more and be more active. So they can get engaged. Things should not insta-die. Things should not be volleyed, but things still need to die.
Well, then you have to remove railguns, right?
They still need to die, but there still needs to be a situation where they have to, as the pilot getting shot, have to do something other than just call for reps to be able
ADC.
The thing here is though,
but also what you need to have is a situation where no matter how much the defender, and we're going to call the guy getting shot the defender here just because whatever, not talking in an actual who's attacking the objective thing. You have to have a situation where no matter what sort of support and how much logi the defender brings, the little shit who's got 150 frickin' Reapers can still walk away from the fight going, but we took down a battleship, guys! And right now that's not there.
Yeah, but what's the motivation to having an actual fleet comp of anything more than 225 battleships, 10 logi,
because
and
it does
whatever not.
better.
But you're taking out so much gameplay from so many people, where you feel useless. Do you know what the most disheartening thing to watch in a fight is? When you're fighting and it doesn't matter if you rep them or not, they just die. That is a logic probably is the worst thing to watch.
I've been Logi more time, not more times than you'd probably Dawn, but I've been Logi for a lot of fleets for a long time. Yes, I know that feeling of keeping the guy alive and then just watching him slowly go down and die kind of thing. Yeah, that does suck, especially if you initially catch him from almost dying and you kind of get him back up and then he drops down and dies anyway. You do feel like, what was the fucking point of that? But you also have to sort of temper that feeling with the fact that it shouldn't just be up to you to save him. It should also be 50% up to him as well, which also means aligning out, getting out of say a bubble that he might be in, or getting away from somebody who might be tackling him, and being able to warp out before he actually loses, before the DPS overwhelms him, even with the Logi support.
Our job should not be we keep everybody alive forever. Our job should be we give you the time you need to keep your ass alive.
The problem here is you are all overlooking that only the Logi aren't the only problem here. It is amplified by everyone only using kitey bullshit hacks.
Yes.
Because back when you had battleships duking it out at short range, you had other things come into play, like webs, target painters. You had newts on the Logi. Bombs had a way bigger effect because they would actually hit shit. That mattered, right?
Yeah.
You don't have that anymore because everything is going at ridiculous speed, so none of that can apply anymore.
Right. That's a problem. That's a problem with the way they've got ships balanced and the fact that they've ignored one really simple principle. You shouldn't be able to go fast and fit the long-range guns. The big long-range guns should take up more power than you have to then go fast. Make it the trade-off. If you can go fast, you can't fit the high-power long-range guns. Maybe you can fit a long-range gun, but it's not going to be something that does a whole massive amount of damage.
Yeah, not the highest level kind of long-range gun, like mid-tier or low-tier. Yeah,
and that,
but not the one with the maximum capacity.
Can you imagine if the Cerberus could only fit light missiles, not rapid lights, light missiles, or hams?
Ooh.
But it gets a range bonus to light missiles, so that they go out as far as heavy missiles would on a Cerb, but you don't do all that damage. Make the Cerb either I hit you like a truck, or I can hit you from way the fuck far away.
If you imagine, the capability of a Munin fleet that's rocking 650s rather than 720s.
Right. Or even make the Munin fleet use small turrets. Just give it a bonus to the range of the small artillery. Small artillery, medium assault cannon, medium autocannon.
I mean, it's not insane. It's not insane because we have battle cruisers that run with battleship weapons. So, it's not like that kind of bridge hasn't been crossed in some way before.
I mean, that's the entire concept of a battle cruiser. Is it's fast, it carries big guns, but it has no armor.
Yeah.
One of the two concepts are horrendous, but yes.
No, the other one is a fucking heavy cruiser or an armored cruiser, and see, just can't fucking label it correctly.
Yeah, the other is oh god, I'm going to sound like Boat here doing a World War II analogy, but the other is kind of panzer ship sort of thing, right? It's a heavy armored cruiser.
You just try to pronounce Panzerschiff?
Yes.
The terms you're looking for are, again, heavy cruiser, armored cruiser, and protected cruiser. Or completely and totally legitimate ship concepts between the introduction of the Dreadnought and World War II.
Yes. I mean, and let's not even get onto the Dreadnoughts here.
Why did I miss the World War II stuff? Like, I walked away for a minute.
Basically talking about how ships fit their contemporaries.
Anywho.
Bye.
Take care, Anders.
Right. Now that he's gone, do you want me to answer your question?
Which question?
Fuck it, go for it.
Right.
I don't remember.
Your question was if the FCs in the room would like to actually go back to 4 to 5 years ago.
Oh, right, yeah.
What we have done. And I would say yes, absolutely. Sure, we did have a matter back then, right? And depending on which time frame we're talking, the matter that existed kind of changes a bit. But there were counters to every matter back then.
Well, that wasn't Railgun.
The only one where it kind of gets a bit hard to find a counter are Macarials. That's mainly because of the price they were going for at the time. So that's an easy fix. Everything else, the T3 matter, the rattlesnakes we were running, even if you go back to dummies, they wouldn't work anymore as well as they did back then. Megathrons, you can counter them. Hacks, the problem with the hacks is that they changed them so much with the ADC that it's really hard to rein them back in without, just changing the ADC back.
Making it shorter?
They should just remove the ADC. I think that they can rein the extreme aspect of the ADC back a bit.
The ADC itself isn't the problem. It's the speed combined with the ADC.
Well, yeah, when you're talking about the Munin specifically.
No, Munins, Serbs, even Sacrileges. Look at the speed Sacrileges go. Right?
Okay.
You basically have the ship that can survive long enough for the reps to start racking up, and be 50 to 100 kilometers away from what's shooting you at the time the damage finally starts applying.
So, part of what's going through my head at the moment is, to some degree, with kiting ships, you can kind of understand that the sort of the position on the battlefield equates to, if you're trying to save them with logi, that they have they naturally will have an easier way of being able to find an escape route and warp away before getting killed. If we're in this supposed sort of scenario where logi reps can't sustain somebody indefinitely, right? For ships that are designed more as a close range doctrine, say, for example, close range zealots, that kind of thing, right? You need, I kind of feel like you need a way of being able to get those ships out of that scenario, that situation. If we're in that scenario that logi reps aren't infinitely sustainable.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of wondering how, because then in that situation the ADC is that kind of that bridge between somebody like taking damage and being able to basically align out and get free of tackle or that kind of thing and being able to warp out. Because the onus should be on the pilot of that ship to be able to get himself out of the situation, but be supported for at least a small period of time by the either the fitting choices that he has on his ship alongside the Logi wing that is supporting him.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I didn't listen.
Fantastic.
I know, right?
So, ESS change.
Yes.
Hold on, we were going to agree not to talk about them until stuff's solidified.
When did I agree to that?
What's the fun in that?
You agreed by not saying anything when the rest of us agreed.
I don't remember hearing this question.
I'm just using the 2-minute mic mute so you can each have unfiltered time.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So, McNair brought something up that I really want to address here, and that's he's saying that if they touch something like the ADCs, it will lead to unintentional bad effects. And the problem here is that you always have that when you change anything.
Hold on. Let's be clear, Soph. This is what CCPs are known for.
Yes. The problem is CCP for the past 5 years has been trying to push players in certain directions. And they are designing their changes to push us into those directions. The problem is that we as players don't want to be told how we are supposed to play the game, right? We try to break everything they throw at us, and we are pretty good at breaking their mechanics. I mean, we have 14 years of experience at it?
It's the fact that they're trying to come at it from the opposite direction, right? They want this particular this particular behavior from the players, and so they're working from there back to what do we need to change in order to get that. But every single time, or at least the vast majority of times that they do that and then they implement the change, they don't get the result that they want. Because they're trying to do it the wrong way around.
It'd be really nice is if they had a group they could consult with weekly that knew the player base and stuff, that was from different areas of space and could answer questions about that. How are we going to gain this?
Would you have them elected by the player base?
Yeah, maybe every year, and they would serve on
like
a term,
council, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That is what went wrong, right? Because they basically made the game more arcade and less simulation, and it broke it. And I'm sure that some people will say, no, it's not broken. Well, from a business point of view, it kind of is. Because when they started doing that, they just started bleeding actual income.
The problem started when CCP thought they understood their own game.
It's not true. It's not fair. It was lobbied by the actual CSM that you guys just talked about, right? That's exactly the guys that lobbied this.
No. What happened was people asked for some changes to certain things.
Infinite faucets, infinite everything, and basically make the PvP aspects the only fun part of the game, because everything else
just got not what was asked for, Caleb.
That was what they wanted.
CCP took what was asked for, twisted it, and ran with some idiotic idea.
They were the ones that did the whole Fozzie tweak, right? They took an idea or something that the player base asked for, and then they pretty much put someone like Fozzie in charge, and he turned it up to 10 and gave us infinite everything.
Yes,
and then it became new normal.
Wait. What do you remember? What the actual reaction was to them showing what they were planning with Fozzie Soft?
And that's true. The CSM actually did say, okay, that's too far, and that's not going to work.
It was not the CSM. It was all of the power blocks, literally all of them, coming together and writing an open letter explaining all of the faults in that plan and how it will break, and that all of them are united in saying that it is a bad idea to implement it like that. Everyone fucking signed that. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone in NullSec signed that. It's the only thing that NullSec actually agreed on at that time.
You might be right. The problem is that what happened was that the whole premise of the hardcore simulation game got killed, and they thought that what the player base had been saying, that if we make it a little bit easier, more people will want to play the game. And that's just not true, because you basically shot the USP of EVE Online to try and get a player base that does not exist, because they do not want to play this game if their interest is in gameplay that exists in way superior formats in other games.
And who's to blame there, Caleb?
Well, CCP for folding, but in their defense, they were a little bit scared after the Summer of Rage, which definitely was their fault.
So they were afraid of screwing up after they screwed up bigger than anybody else ever screwed up. I'm just saying.
They didn't screw up that to the extent that people say. It was a perfect storm of so many things happening at the same time. And people keep talking about this. Is very much like listening to people talking about the Wizard's Hat thing. They don't have a clue of what happened because most of them were not there. They're just going with this hearsay, third, fourth, fifth line of narrative. If you were actually there, the major flaw was the way they mismanaged the whole walking in stations. And that was a tragedy. Everything else basically was just small things, small irritations, everyday annoyance that we always have in this game because people have different viewpoints and they want different things fixed. And it was the same back then, and there was a lot of things broken. And basically, we had a revolution that was instigated by players completely misrepresenting CCP deliberately. I'm not necessarily going to point fingers or use names, but the fact that they took the leak of greed is good and spun it in the way that they did was completely bad faith, right? That was such bad faith from the player base. And if you read it and if you knew the tongue-in-cheek attitude,
I'm pretty sure a certain CEO went off on a certain employee for pricing all those prices too low and was a complete asshole about the whole thing. I'm pretty sure that's the main driver of the entire thing. That you had a CEO that was so fucking full of himself and is a royal asshole that it just all came out. And by the way, and he didn't even apologize. Somebody else wrote his apology. He's not even a big enough man to do that. So, I mean, that's my whole problem with Hilmar, and it stems from there. And he's going to have a hard time ever coming back from that.
Wait, you were talking about Hilmar?
Yeah.
Surprise. The guy that is so full of himself that thinks he's the greatest fucking game developer in the entire world, and he got lucky once. Sorry.
Eric, it's like I lost it on him last year about, right? The whole after Blackout and whatever, and then it was, we've set off a trend, and look at Fortnite doing their event that's like...
Come on. This is the same guy who thought chaos in the environment would entice us to play more, okay? Come on.
Sorry, where did I cut off that? Because I realised my thing cut off.
Basically rewriting history, and you're taking something that...
I'm not rewriting history. It happened.
Eric. Caleb, I'm also not rewriting history. I can go get the tweet for you if you want.
That's fine. The point is that the person that was involved in all this has actually given enough information on it to be able to comment in a sane way. And just remember, if Carbon had worked, if Walking in Stations had worked, some of the ideas and arguments that Hilmar had would actually have made more sense. The problem is that he was trying to micromanage in a specific direction, and it was wrong. And yes, that is something that you can say you're being a dick and you're messing something up. But in that point in history, everything was being messed up. And
Hold on, time out. At what time? When does Eve go tits up every time? Every time that individual, whenever he decides to micromanage anything. So, just saying, it's not like a fluke. Like he does it like, oh, he made a mistake once. This is like the circle of life, man. This guy hits this every so many years. Sorry, Brisk is like time out.
Are you? Well, the thing is, right?
Let's put it this way: it's like the election, right? When I would check the box, anyone else, right? If I was voting for CEO, I would put Zenori as CEO before this guy.
So I'm going to use a classic, really terrible analogy, like I always do, to describe the situation that that Hilmar had presented to him. Essentially, like the situation in Eve was kind of terrible-ish, but not like it was still playable, it was still doable. But it was kind of set on a track that was eventually going to lead to complete apathy and like essentially the destruction of, people wanting to play Eve. Essentially, it was like you were kind of like half coming off a slip road, off the motorway, but instead of being on the actual slip road off the motorway, you're literally going into that kind of like that concrete fucking thing, right, between the two, right? And Hilmar kind of coming in like before hitting that and kind of going, oh shit, we need to actually go one way or the other way. But instead of going one way or the other way, he drives Eve Online into the fucking into a ditch, essentially.
Right.
I want to make a joke here, but it might actually be really odd for me to say, given how I like the company that I'm about to mention.
I think it's completely unfair to just point the finger at one person because
he's in charge. He gets to have the
he's
finger.
The boss. It all rolls up to him.
It's not like us yelling at Falcon for being like, I like things to be terrible. Okay, that's nice, Falcon, but you have no actual power in this company. Hilmar can be like, listen, I want to turn everything off.
Power here.
Just turn it all off for a day. Let's see what happens. He could do that, and who's going to tell him no?
Hindsight, he was not entirely wrong. Just saying.
Well, that might be part of the problem of your perception.
Wait, hold on. Who wasn't entirely wrong about what?
Tension and the direction that Hilmar wanted the game to go in.
Yeah, because it was just going gangbusters through the roof with the users for that.
Well, you can
think, but reality says something else.
Everyone in this room,
things needed to change, but not to the extent.
Okay, McLeod, you're in the room. So could you please point out how walking in station in that direction was not the right way to go compared to looking at what Star Citizen has done? Because that's where all those people went. All the people that wanted Eve to develop into that direction, right? They all went and threw money at Star Citizen.
Boring.
There was a lot of people. Yeah, there was a lot of people who, were engaging with EVE Online at that time that saw a lot of issues with a lot of their gameplay, but they kept on playing EVE because they knew that CCP was potentially working on fixes because there was going to be a new expansion coming up fairly soon. Lo and behold, when the expansion came, people were expecting, that there were going to be changes and fixes to, at least some secondary or maybe one of the primary problems with EVE Online. But no, most of it was a case of we were working on, walking in stations and this ambulation stuff. But unfortunately, two-thirds of and microtransactions, but 2/3 of it wasn't actually ready. So all we got was a fucking captain's quarters, which was just basically the most because everyone was interested when it comes to walking in stations was the interaction with other people, not this whole kind of glorified cupboard.
This is where Eric is actually right. Eric is right to criticize CCP on some of these points, because the fact that they pushed this prematurely when it was completely unready and basically put us in a fucking solitary confinement cell with rubber on the walls and no ability to do anything was a massive mistake. They would have benefited from not using anything.
And you know
at
the
all.
funniest thing? You know the funniest thing is the only even with this being the expansion that was given to us, right, as a player base, even with that, like, certain individuals found ways of finding content from that. And what content was that? Being able to change what is being played on the TV screen in it to whatever you wanted, right? And CCP came in and crushed even that from us. It was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's an exploit.
Yeah, it's an exploit. How is it an exploit?
The problem isn't that they pushed out walking in stations way before it was ready. The problem is that the only thing that actually was working were the microtransactions.
Yes, and sorry, you beat me to it, Soph. But that's the thing. The game was in a pretty rough state before the patch. People could probably have forgiven CCP if the patch that came out was, okay, we don't have fixes, we're going to work on them, but here's walking in stations. But no, they dropped microtransactions. So they had a buggy game, they had a half-finished feature, combined with expecting more money out of the players.
More money, more problems.
Oh, but don't worry, because don't worry, we've also got the fucking Monocle Gate.
So I want to go over it real quick. Theta, because we get bored on my fleets, and like Theta gets bored, so we think way too hard, right? We talked about in walking in stations, if they had like made some sort of espionage option with it, where like you could go in other people's rooms, or like had like a hall where you could interact with people. You could sabotage someone's ship or steal information from their ship. Maybe turn off a module if they don't know it. Anything other than absolutely nothing. We thought that would be funny. It always gets into like sabotaging their cabin with like something terrible in their ship, and they don't know it till they get in. Things like that is what we were discussing.
Mix.
Or like you start seeing things on your screen like broken glass and shit, and you have to get it fixed. Just things that were like funny and annoying that players could do to each other.
So Brisk does bring in a good point. Like, at some point you do have to kind of, you'd have to break yourself away from like, the wonders of having this digital playground and actually realize, yes, it is a business. It has to make money at some point, some way, shape, or form for it to be viable. Yeah, I get that. The issue with Monocle Gate wasn't the case of like, oh my god, CCP wants money. It was a case of like all of the money that people were throwing to CCP to play the game, as a subscription-based game, which it was at the time. We got an expansion that quite, for a lot of people, seemed completely devoid of, the effort that we gave them the money for, and the only thing, and so added to that was they suddenly released this thing saying, "Hi guys, we've here's a bunch of what is it, like a bunch of random digital items that doesn't affect anything, but like they cost the same, if not more, and actually quite a bit more than the real life equivalent. Like you could, like t-shirts cost more than a premium real life t-shirt. Like there's a reason why things are called microtransactions.
They're tiny.
They're meant to be small.
Wasn't the Monocle technically more expensive than a real one?
More people buy them. The idea of microtransactions is because it's small, it's viable to more people, so more people buy it.
The pricing scheme of the store was a complete mess, and it was basically bringing in Gucci before you had a Walmart. That's just raw, and it's dumb.
And I feel, I really feel for Carneros, who was like, like heading up that kind of that part of CCP at the time, because Hilmar just came in and basically told him that he wasn't doing a good job and just jacked the prices up like crazy. Like if the prices came in at the level that I imagine Carneros kind of put it, kind of considered to be viable, like the whole Monocle Gate thing wouldn't have been anywhere near as bad, and people probably would have reacted a little bit less harshly to the Walking Stations expansion as a whole, because we wouldn't have reacted. Yeah, we wouldn't have reacted kind of going, we gave you a whole bunch of money in terms of subscription in order to actually fix some stuff for the game, right? And you just didn't do it, and then you created this half-assed stuff, and now you want more money. It's like, yeah, there's a reason why people reacted how they did.
Completely mismanaged. If they have given us just the ability to have like 2 or 3 people in a captain's quarters, and the ability to have something like a meeting room with up to 10 people, and the store had actually started out being actual microtransactions, it would have succeeded, right? And as we've talked about before, the Carbon engine was ahead of its time. They could have developed that shit to become something that would have become competitive with the actual standard of game engines today.
Or maybe even licensed to somebody else and been actually a moneymaker.
But this is it's another classic example of, Hilmar coming back, kind of, seeing how things are going, and then just like, grabbing the wheel and just, sending fucking Eve into a ditch again.
Yeah, instead of a nice dirt road where it's a little rough, but, you're getting there to like, hey, but there's some jungle. Whee!
Basically, what I'm getting here, and I'm going to go back to the joke that I never said, is Hilmar is basically the Eve equivalent of Tesla full self-drive. It'll probably steer you into a ditch just when you don't want it to.
Put your life in the hands of a beta software.
And in Eric's defense, one of the things that he does actually have a major point in is that CCP has historically been really, really bad at making actual business choices that gives them money, right? It's when it comes to monetization that they keep stumbling. They are either too greedy, too dumb, too early, or they fall completely flat on their face with a product that doesn't do what it's supposed to, or they don't take advantage of the actual marketing conversion rates and stuff like that. It's just they are so much noobs when it comes to actually making business choices. So I'm almost inclined to say he's not entirely wrong when he says that Hilmar is a little bit to blame, but that's the downside of retaining ownership, and they did that for a long time, right? If they had sold out earlier, they would have been in the hands of someone that would actually have tried to do a money grab. But then the player base of Eve is the worst when it comes to actual money grabbing, because they will fuck off if you try too hard.
Well, here, I'll give you an example, Caleb, right? So, I'm not a fan of locking in stations, but let's just say that the Carbon engine was fantastic, even if they didn't maximize the use in their own game. Had they been able to license that to another game to use, that income could have then been used to replenish the things in Eve and bring Eve to a higher level. But there's no understanding of how to leverage that sort of stuff, it seems, at CCP. Sorry.
That's the biggest tragedy of the Summer of Rage, is the Carbon engine loss, right? Because if they had figured out to get that up and running just in a moderate sense, right, and figured out how can this be reutilized for other types of games, quote unquote World of Darkness, and then had licensed it out, they would have had a complete moneymaker, and they wouldn't even have had to sell out White Wolf, right? And the mismanagement of the White Wolf thing is also one of the biggest tragedies, right? Because that whole corporation should have been sat down and said, okay, you guys make us a lot of lore books and pen and paper games and board games and stuff like that, and start chunking it out and selling it to the player base. But they didn't. Instead, they used them to write stuff for World of Darkness, the actual game. And that's just complete mismanagement of the talent that they had. So it's just so many sad things that happened. And we've talked about this for years and years. And I really hope that CCP starts listening a little bit, because they do have gold. And as Eric said, they really nailed it with EVE Online. and they're basically living off of that one-shot wonder. If they want to actually be able to make more wonders, they have to start thinking in a serious way. And I'm not saying that they have to listen to the player base, because when players whine about their game, they usually end up destroying it. But when it comes to things like the meta layers and what type of products we want, right? That's where they should listen to us, right? What do we want to buy? Because we're not lying when we're saying we want to buy dice or cups or T-shirts, but we're not going to buy floating nixes or monocles. Come on.
Oh, no. So, people were actually down for the floating nix.
Yeah.
People are down with it, but like...
Not a moneymaker. It will never break even. It's going to be a loss thing. It's a loss leader. It's a cool thing, but it's definitely not something you put in the store as your main thing, because not enough people are going to buy that shit. It's just bad business.
I don't know.
No, it probably it would be a loss leader in the store, but like, you know, that's not the thing that you put in the store to make you the money. Like that's the shiny, pretty kind of like Jesus featurey style thing that gets people to the store, and then they see the other things that they can buy that are much more, you know, much better in terms of a cost to, you know, price to cost ratio from selling things in the store, and that's how you make the money. You make the money on those other things. It's these kind of like pretty kind of like awesome things like the but like the hovering nix that kind of gets people to the store.
I'm gonna point
to
when
it's
go ahead. I'll let you finish.
When the store kind of when the cost to sort of deliver stuff from the store is so insane, like you're basically shooting yourself in the foot before you even step off.
And on the same page is Alliance skins. Please, CCP, get a grip. Figure out how to monetize that thing in micro monetization so it makes sense, so I want to buy it and I don't go broke, and I can keep buying it over and over and over, because I don't like skins, but Alliance skins is an amazing idea. Can we please get it now so you can get my credit card?
Yeah, because like I've played Dota for 9 years, somewhere there, 9 years I think, right? And Dota is 100% completely free game, and yet they still have the highest prize pool ever. And League of Legends also like completely free game. They make a crap ton of money off of pretty Barbie doll things. People like to look cool in their game. I buy a compendium every year for Dota for the International, which gives me all these in-game bonuses and has all these little like quests and things you can do throughout the game. And it absolutely adds nothing to my ability to play at all. And that's how Valve makes a moderate chunk of money.
Seriously, there's no game as tribal as EVE Online. None. The only thing that comes close is real-life sports. So the Alliance skin is a no-brainer. Just do it, CCP, and stop slagging.
Hang on real quickly. The issue with the Alliance skin, at least from what I've heard from, you know, sort of people talking about it and sort of some CCPers kind of commenting about it, is the fact that they kind of feel that if they make an Alliance skin, then people will run with those Alliance skins, and then they won't want to buy or use any other skin because they want to have like
they make it an
show patriot, you know, their patriot kind of like a.
They can make it a holographic overlay like on all the buildings. How come my Keepstar can have a bee over it, and that's no problem if we switched people?
I find it ridiculous. I find it absolutely
They're just
ridiculous,
lazy.
right?
They don't want to do
it.
Lazy.
I find it absolutely ridiculous that, you know, in a profession where you use, you know, arts programs that that are built around the idea of layering, that you haven't kind of thought to yourself, how about we give, you know, the players of EVE more than one layer of ship skin?
The whole point is that I am the best example personally, right, for this, because I have no interest in skins at all. I think it's the most silly thing in the game, because most of the time you don't see it. But when you're talking Alliance skins, then I actually think that I would buy it. because
I play Barbie doll and every
I
toy.
would fly a ship with an initiative logo and skin on it. Yes, I would. I would fly anything with a bee skin. I would. And I think most players, especially the ones that are in this current war, feel like I do. Maybe they don't give a shit about skins, but when we're talking tribalism based skins, oh my god, they would all want that.
If the alliance dies, then I don't know. Maybe you can convert it to whatever your active alliance is. It doesn't have to be necessarily tied to just that alliance. You can tie it to you're in an alliance. What's your logo? You can put it on your ship. Now, before we end today, I did want to get to at some point because it's been 2-3 weeks since, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks since the mineral changes.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb's Mr. Numbers Man, so I wanted to see if he's seeing changes in the Gita market, because we found it very interesting. We did the math. It is almost 27 billion to make an Aeon with the mineral prices right now.
Well, when it comes to the current market, everything is up in the air and everything is started correcting. You saw the instant correction of everything going up by 200 and all the way up to 300%. And then there's been a lot of what I think is warfare strategic cornering. Then we've had patch after patch after patch. So it's really
it's been very volatile.
And the Noxian price. The Noxian price looks like a rocket launch.
Yeah, and the funny thing here is, when we always point out to CCP that they need to roll out things in smaller increments so we can actually see the effects, because otherwise the data gets conflated. When you're asking me this right now, the data is so conflated when you're talking about markets. I have no idea what is causing what, right? Everything is impacting all at once. So it's basically just a perfect storm, right? Of course, the resource thing is the major driver of this, but it's also the fact that we have a war. We are actually cutting into the stockpiles. We are seeing a complete reduction in actual faucets being utilized. And then we're seeing something like the bounty thing coming out now. So everything is a mess, and you can't tell where it's going to land, which I almost would say that's actually a good thing, because that means that we can't speculate on that.
Right. It's harder to know exactly what's going to happen to plan for it, which is positives and negatives. But looking at it, mining and nullsec with the belts the way they are now, unless they turn that up, no one's gonna mine in nullsec. It's utter trash. Why should I mine in a 5 to 10 billion-ish ship, depending upon when you bought it? Okay, guys, depending when you got it. My Oracle was 10 bill when I got it. Okay, why am I gonna mine in a ship that expensive to get Kernite and maybe some Arcanor, which is not the most expensive, but then they give it Spod to the Triglavian space? How the fuck are you going to get that out?
The point is that if I'm not mistaken, and I really hope that I'm right, they're bringing out the carrot of the resource stuff, right? Which is the last phase of the resource.
It is the most disgusting withered carrot I've ever seen.
Well, they haven't brought it out yet. The point is, if the carrot comes out in anything near the shape and form that I suspect it will, it's going to be a major boost to moon mining, right? And that
mining.
That will make moon mining an actual field, like farms and fields, and you decide what crop you put in there. I hope they landed in that place where moon mining becomes almost 60 to 70% of all income when it comes to resource stuff in EVE. If they don't, I'm just going to facepalm and just say, okay, you guys were right.
Because the moons now, it's just
facepalm right now. I mean, the track record. Yeah. Just do it.
We know how this is going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it started.
Remember, CCP don't create the Oracle the way you think you want to create the Oracle. Well, no, it won't be a problem. Okay.
The thing is, we'll adapt. The thing is, we'll adapt like we always do. The issue is, I think a lot of us know collectively kind of where CCP wants us to, how CCP wants us to behave. I'm just absolutely pretty certain about the fact that we won't be behaving in that particular way.
I'm just shocked that the last 5 years they've all built up to everybody make your space home and have a place to go, and then go out and mess with each other's space houses. And now all the changes are completely in the opposite direction. It may not be necessarily a bad direction, but now everything's like, hey, you own it, so it's actually not any better than anybody else's stuff anymore. High Sec has the total titanium market other than like salvaging. The best.
Before we have to do the last thing, I will say in my defense, I suspect, I could be completely wrong, I suspect that CCP has finally figured out that what they actually designed when they made moon mining is a little bit of genius, because anyone that's played any MMO ever in the history of gaming knows that there's a massive problem with nodes and nodes respawn, and how players pretty much just completely bang on them and take advantage of them, and it ends up completely stagflating and accreting to a point where everything in the game is worthless, right? This has been the case of all node stuff in the history of gaming. When CCP designed mining, that was actually a solution. And I was praising it back then because I really thought that they were going to utilize this thing, this little invention of a player-driven node that could be challenged and destroyed, because that is such genius potentially. And they didn't, right? Back then they didn't. They didn't understand what they had just invented. So they landed it in a place that was completely worthless, and then they had anomalies that was infinitely spawnable, right? So basically it was a waste of feature. But now, if they have figured out that they have a little piece of gold, just like when they invented Plex, they can actually land this in a place where it becomes the main thing when it comes to resource gathering. And if they do that, that will create content. Of course, you can say, well, players will game it and figure out how to use it. Yeah, but that's still a feature. The people that can figure out how to do the crop rotation and the management of the fields and the protection and the defense of the fields and all that shenanigans, again, I think, of course, the Imperium is going to be superior to this, but this will be good for the game. It will be the best design ever.
The good aspect of the design is that it's not just like an infinite thing. Like, you have long timers of long waits in order to reuse the same area again, right? There's a reason why people put on, I think it's like a 90-day fracking cycle and kind of thing like that.
56.
But sorry,
56 days is the maximum.
56-day cycles, right? Because they can leverage the maximum amount out of it. But it's not like it's not like the roid fields or the ice fields that respawn and respawn and respawn and respawn and respawn at set at a very set kind of thing. You can choose the length of time, the duration that cycle occurs.
If they do this right, so you choose kind of what you prospect for, you choose the fracking frequency, so you adapt it. It's almost like time zone tanking your resource gathering. All of this together in combination and with variables on how you recycle or refine these things, the way that slots work on industry, and there's just so much that they can do to make this really, really interesting for everyone, not just for the miners, but also for the industrialists, also for the structure owners, also for the SOV holders. It's just, there's so much potential in this platform that if they don't roll it out in a meaningful way, I am really going to cry, because then I'm almost at a point where I want to flip the table and say, okay, CCP, now you're just being way too dumb.
But this is the same as me the other week, right? Where I thought they were genuinely going to turn around, pull off a good one, and land the trig content. And they didn't land it. They fucked it up. They then called an exploit on the only way people were getting decent standings. And now they've deleted those standings and still left no way to actually get decent standings. Which means 99% of players are locked out of the new content they just spent the last year working on.
A year promoting this. They spent a year promoting high-tech content that no one in nullsec wanted to do, other than the occasional go kill people in Nyarja and other nullsec places that got flipped.
That was only because other nullsec groups decided that they wanted to do something. We were like, fuck you.
the bulk of the player base did not want to interact with Triglavian stuff at all. So you spent a year doing that bullshit, and then
Hold
you
on.
made sure that none of us really don't.
I can understand that. That was fun content.
10
And
people.
then you cut off.
It wasn't
10 people.
But then you cut off 50% of the people who did that content and give them literally fuck all to do afterwards.
No, not just that. You put them further behind than
like people that
somebody
did nothing.
who didn't even touch the content. And just
good point.
I'll put it this way: there are people that were in the EdenCom side of the community that have literally thrown their hands up and went, "What the fuck, CCP? I'm done with your game."
You know what EdenCom got? 10% mining boost. Oh yeah. Oh,
they don't even get that properly.
But it applies to Orcas, which is nice.
To what still
Just
works?
mine. Yeah, oh yeah, all the EdenCom miner victories and everything, they're all still there. They just kind of just sit there with EdenCom.
Or anything like
They just
yeah,
they
there's
don't really
ore.
have much.
There's no trick. There's sometimes trig ore spawns, I think, in the combat sites.
No, it's gone.
No.
They take it away finally.
CCP moved it
devoid of anything.
Up the system, so.
If you ask me, they need to bring some kind of top-down money flow back. They need to
of course.
enable that. And it needs to be something you can fight over. Like, something you can actually take from someone.
Sovereignty.
You mean like
going from top down to going from fully top down to fully bottom up? Like, it just shows that both systems don't work. Like,
Okay, so
you have to have a mixture of two.
Space drugs that you have to fight over.
Exactly is wrong with just
I'm sorry, but moons should be this.
Space meth.
Moon should never have stopped being this.
Okay, if they bring in something like a sovereignty-based tax, right? All the moons, if moons are suddenly 60 to 70% of all the resource gathering, will then actually have the ability to become the income for the actual sovereignty holder, right? They always will take a cut when these things are running. Same with when they fix industry platforms in general. If they get these things to actually make sense, then it will become a bottom-up and a top-down, because the top will basically always get their cut. Same with the ESS. You need to have sovereignty tax on ESS. You need to have sovereignty tax on market transactions. It shouldn't be sunk out of the game in nullsec. In nullsec, it should all go to an actual player or an entity, right?
As the ESS stands at the moment, as it's been leaked to us, and as you can experience it on the test server, the only way to run that ESS or to run ESSs in your sovereign space without it, devolving into ridiculous Diplo issues here, there, and everywhere, is to essentially zero out your ratting alliance tax whatsoever, and essentially the reserve bank of every ESS is the alliance tax. Unfortunately, I don't know whether you can actually change how much of that tax, how much of that ratting income goes into that reserve bank or not. Like as a member of, as a person in that soft holding alliance with roles to be able to do something of that form. But like essentially that, as far as I can determine, like that is the only way that like you could run, sovereign nullsec without with these ESSs, without it just devolving into ridiculously dumb Diplo issues.
And Caleb, you're missing my point.
It's like, and it's forcing people into like that particular. I don't like the fact that CCP is like literally forcing people into that corner. Like, you have to do it this way or else.
You can't just, shoot someone else's citadel on a moon and then drop your own and then make money by that.
And it just takes at least a minimum of 60 days to get any actual like real wealth out of it.
Like, that doesn't work. Like, my point isn't that there should be top-down money flow. My point is there should be top-down money flow that you can take away from other people. Right?
To promote content.
Think the old moons. Like, I could shoot someone's pos and put my own down, and I would start making money that moment.
The issue there is like when it came to like invasions and stuff, you could make money out of the moons because the playbook at the time when it was Dominion sub was, you went in, you killed the moons, you replaced the moons, and then those moons, you fought over them, but they passively gave you additional funds to be able to like carry on with the war, and it starved the previous holders of funds to be able to carry on with the defense, right? You can't really do that with the way that it is bottom up, because no one's going to put their fucking raw pool in the middle of an active war zone to mine this stuff when they know that they're going to probably just get ganked straight off the bat. So there's an issue with the fact that like you don't have this ability to passively mine this moon, even in a really, really low kind of way.
We could have this ability. We could have another moon mining module that basically is a passive moon mining module. Hold on. Let me finish though, because here's where it gets slightly more.
No, I'm totally on board with what you're saying.
Because the then issue comes from you've got to knock a structure down, and moons aren't the same. Well, that's fine. The law reason behind this new module is that because it is constantly mining, it needs to constantly have a beam there that is doing its stuff, and thus the shields need to be down on the structure. Thus, it's always vulnerable and only has the 2 timers.
Well, it should only have 1 timer to be complete.
Well, sorry, yes. You come along, you kill the armor, and then you come back 24 hours later for the hull.
I mean, I get where you're coming from with the whole kind of like, making it a little bit more vulnerable. It should be more vulnerable just as it is anyway. But I always kind of thought that, considering Citadel's, considering a lot of the structures have the ability to have stand-up fighter bays and like be able to launch like fighters, like you should potentially, and this is kind of like how I kind of see a way of solving the issue of, having that passive moon mining capacity, is for people to be able to fit in those particular structures, like stand up Tech 1 like mining barges, and so they would basically be a way for you to launch them, and they would passively mine the field at a really low rate, still allow people to come in and blow those stuff up. So you can still interdict that passive flow rate. But it would allow people to, it'll allow owners of that structure to be able to generate a trickle of passive income from that, even in a battlefield, like even in areas of like severe conflict.
So what, you run a frac, it hits its max days, it pops, and you turn around and go, okay, I hire some NPCs or some crap like that to mine it for me.
No, you literally just load up the fighter bays in the structure with stand-up mining barges, launch them, they go to work. You don't even need to be there you don't even need to be in system. You don't even need to be controlling the structure for it to carry on moon mining. Like, you just need to be there to launch them. And if someone comes along and blows them up, you don't have any passive moon mining until you come back and replace those.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of see it. That's how I see, a degree of passive income, passive moon mining income that can be controllable, and it isn't can't just run away in terms of scalability.
The only place it could be a scalability issue is actually high-sec moons. However, I could
just roll it out.
Never
You just roll it out in nullsec only.
Well, even in high sec, they've got a structure down. They could be war decked. If you can war deck him, and then come in and blow up the stand up mining moon barge, like mining barges, like just like that. Like it's not super difficult.
I feel like we've had a very productive day today, and we've had a lot of people watching today.
Actually, I wanted to say something, and the conversation moved on quite considerably. I did a significant amount of Hilmar bashing today. I would like to make it very obvious. I would like to make it known, if it wasn't obvious, that I'm not against Hilmar doing his thing. I just wish he took more time to understand the climate and the situation that is presented to him before making decisions.
I'll just hear laughing.
That is my only issue.
Is that your one last thing, McLeod? Is that your one last thing?
No, that's my last thing.
All right.
You guys can all do whatever.
All right, Bargos, you do your one last thing, because it is 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern.
I honestly really don't have one, but CCP stopped fucking up again. You were getting there, but you've started idiocy again, right?
Alrighty, Caleb. You're on mute, Caleb. He's like,
it's better.
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
Study active window. Okay, I'm just gonna say that any AFK income that is not industry or market related, or maybe even PI, is bad for the game. The fact that mining is active is a huge step forward. I do think that there is an issue of how do you figure out how to get a better bottom-up top income. But I'd still say that's about bringing the same features to nullsec that exist in highsec. That's sovereignty tax on everything.
That doesn't create reason to fight, though.
Yes, it
Anyway.
does.
Carrying on.
No.
I don't
Carrying
even
on.
know. I just want to wipe the smug look off of Billy's face because he's way full of himself.
Billy?
There, I said.
I mean, he's always
Billy.
full of himself.
Oh, Billy.
Like that's what happens when you have sycophants following you everywhere you go. You end up with a massively inflated ego,
Actually, no,
thinking
I don't
that every single thing that you do, every single thing that you touch, is made of fucking solid gold.
He actually makes the perfect heel spot.
there's an ancient I think there was an ancient kind of story regarding that.
It's like wrestling. So we got Mittens over here who's like the loudmouth heel, and everybody loves to hate him, right? And then Billy's trying to fill the role of like the loudmouth good guy, quote unquote, there to counter Mittens, which honestly is a lot of fun to watch. And it gives both sides that thing to like really focus on. So it's been fun.
All right.
All hell
Is
pancake.
that your one last thing, Don, or you have something
Oh,
else?
my last thing is everybody should watch the Meta Show later today. And then everybody should come hang out with me and the boys on Theta Thursday, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time, though it is subject to change pending giant fights going down. So everyone should come hang out with me.
That's right. Brisk is saying Meta show's in an hour. So there we go.
Did we get a shower pick? I don't think we got a shower pick.
I don't think we got a shower pick today. It was terrible.
Graceful.
Do we not pay you for our OnlyFans?
Although I'm not going to say it.
All hail pancake cat. Just remember.
Mike
all
Flood?
Hail pancake cat. Yes. All hail pancake cat. Brooding for CSM.
Is that your one last thing?
All hail pancake cat. Brooding for CSM. Gotta hype it up.
All right. You know who's been unusually quiet the last half of the show? Soth or so.
He's been on fire in the chat. So occasionally.
He has been a little bit on fire. Soth,
Hashtag fire Hilma.
Soth, great minds. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'll kind of have to wonder whether the adage of "better the devil you know than the devil you don't."
Yeah, at this point,
applies
the
here,
devil
but,
you
like,
don't can't be.
I
I
don't know.
told you.
I don't know. There's rumblings from Google and like EA EA's done some good things, but like they've done some really terrible things as well. And you wouldn't really want someone from EA running CCP right now.
I don't know.
Or at any point, really.
Right now.
Yeah, well, if it gets us alliance skins, I don't care.
Oh, sorry. You guys never let me have this one, and I'm actually going to have this as my corrected thing.
What are you gonna do?
I'm going to have this.
Have what?
This is going to be controversial,
Oh god.
but I think CCP were better at making money and in a sensible way when they actually had the EA guys working for monetization than any other time when Hilmar's been involved.
Okay. You need to go.
Yeah.
What?
Hey,
GTFO, baby.
Wait. Wasn't he at CCP when Seagull was leading the whole Eve thing?
yes, that's how we got skins and injectors, which, don't get me wrong, have been damaged.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a point there. I'm just going
But
to
it's
say
not. It's not
Yeah.
absurd.
It's brought them in
yet.
money, but
Right.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
brought them in money, but like fuck me, as it dumpstered the game.
Since you've all had
Some
like
degree.
18 one last things, I'll do my one last thing.
Mhm.
My question is, anybody have one of those, laser temperature gauges?
No, but I've seen
Is there,
them.
is there
Like-
something you
like
need
one
to
of
check
these?
the temperature of, but you don't want to touch it?
Yeah, like point, aim,
Yes.
temperature, right? If you ever get one of those, okay, they're just like freaking addicting. You just want to. I had this for years, by the way, but I just found it in my office. Right, it was over here in
Is that
the
what you've been
cabinet a
doing
couple
most
days
of
ago.
today?
No, I
Is that
just
what you've
started
been
doing
most
it
of the
during
show?
one last thing. I'm like, hey, yeah, how's my door sealed up over here? We good? All right, not bleeding too much. How are the windows? Right? And it's like, I don't know if you guys have it, but they have like this commercial, and I think it's for an insurance company where they're in a store like a Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, a hardware store, right? And he's like, the guy like starts giving another guy advice on like grout scrapers, and he's like, "Do you know him? Did he ask you for advice on the grout scrapers?" Right? No, but I'm just sitting there going, I need to go to the Home Depot store. What do I need to repair around
No,
the house?
you need to go to Lowe's.
Lowe's. I'm sorry. Well,
Why do I have that strange feeling that you're using that, like that you could potentially be using that, like, to check to see whether somebody is running a slightly high fever?
you're not supposed to do that with these. Although,
You're not
if
supposed to.
I hear if you walk in Amazon facilities, they have big ones pointed at you, and they might check your temperature instantly as you walk through a door.
So they're shooting you with lasers the entire time.
Probably.
Good
Well,
thing,
if you're running too high, there's like fucking sirens and lights.
Yes,
and, like,
the
networks
alarm
fucking
goes
fire
off.
at you and stuff.
Alarm goes off, and then nobody cares.
you don't have anything to do with Amazon, right?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who didn't reload the net launchers?
I do, Don. I must admit, I do competitive shop Lowe's and Home Depot.
I don't. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not.
I will
worried about
tell you that probably 8 times out of 10 Lowe's wins.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'm not personally invested in it. So
yeah, I don't care. It's like the toy store for old guys, old married guys, right? So I don't know. I like hardware stores. I have fun over there. All right, that's it. That's a show. We've got what is it? About 50 minutes till the meta show. I did not hear a fireside. Did we miss a fireside?
it hasn't started yet, but I think they just finished their meeting. So.
Alrighty, so better get out of there, everybody. If you're going to fireside, go to fireside and have a great day and enjoy the game.
Thank you.
Hashtag something something something. Hilmar. I don't know. Bye bye. Later.